Namaste, beloveds. This is Motherwood Wisdom, also known as Valerie Ames Middlebrook. Today we have very impromptu but very deep solstice transmission, relay of information, revelations. However you choose to see this, or what words or labels you want to use with it. It's just a deep, very deep sharing, very deep spiritual, expanding conscious awareness sharing for me. So here we go. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to read what I wrote, and then I'm going to get into some tarot cards that I just pulled to kind of point out other things related to the topic of expanding spiritual conscious observation individually and collectively, with very specific frequencies and spectrums and vibrations for the 2023 winter solstice. Okay, so let's get into it, beloveds. Expanding spiritual conscious observation individually and collectively. Learning not to judge the individual or the collective, but the system that creates, holds space for, and feeds the unholy, unhealthy disease of the spirit. Now, beloveds, this is a very deep paragraph. And when I wrote it, it just flowed, okay? And I paid attention to the words collectively and individually because they were very powerful words. Learning not to judge the individual or collective, but instead learning to judge the system that creates and holds space for and feeds the unholy, unhealthy disease of the spirit. So there are many things, there are many subjects, there are many topics, there are many dots that can be connected with just this one paragraph that is so very powerful, so very specific in its language, in its communication, in its revelation of our observation, our conscious observation of everything that's going on now, that we're watching, that we're observing, that we're seeing, that's being revealed to us, okay? Contrasted with the things that were hidden or unseen before. Learning not to judge the individual or the collective, but the system that creates, holds space for, and feeds the unholy and the unhealthy dis-ease, unrest, anxiety, fear, anger of the spirit, meanness. So we're being told to don't just look at the individual, that you see this disease, this infection, their symptoms percolating, popping, acting out, taking over. Don't judge the individual. Don't judge the collective, because there will be a collective of individuals. Because as the old saying go, birds of a feather flock together. Okay? And the scriptures tell us that where there is one unholy, unhealthy spirit. It calls more to it. Okay? So understand the collective aspect as well of what we're learning not to judge. Okay? Learning to observe, to see, to discern that system, that matrix, that entity, that essence, that energy, that whole, that creates, holds space for, and feeds the unholy, unhealthy disease of the spirit. So it is a producer of these kind of seeds. Okay? This diseased seeds, the seeds of unrest, the seeds of death and dying, the seeds of fear, the seeds of trauma, the seeds of slavery, the seeds of domination, of master-slave classes, hierarchies and stances. Judge the system, because it is the system that bears the responsibility. The individual and the collective have just been infected by the disease. Okay? But if you want to get rid of the disease, you have to get rid of that which spreads and holds space for it. Not the ones who have been infected. You try to heal them or help them as best you can. Let me keep going, beloveds. Checks and balances is a natural condition in all systems, matrices, and structures. That is the purpose of polar extremities, of opposing forces, seen as good and bad for this transmission of received information. So, we're being told, do not despair. Do not look at the chaos and think that this is truly the end of the end of the end of the ending of things. No, when something ends, something else begins. So these are the checks and balances that are in place. This is the natural condition of birth, death, and rebirth. These are the cycles and the seasons. These are the revolutions of the evolutions of spiritual conscious awareness, expanding its own conscious capacity to hold, to grow, to deepen, to get to that unlimited vastness. Okay? There are checks and balances in the designs of the individual, of the collective, of the systems, of the matrices, okay? Of those who are able to hold the space and those who are able to observe those holding the space. There are checks and balances in place. Nothing is left to random. Everything is accounted for. And if something overgrows, there's something within the nature of it, the opposing force, that will bring it back into balance. Okay? This is what we're being told about expanding spiritual conscious observation individually and collectively. And understand for yourself and observe why it's coming in this moment of time. in this period, in this age, okay? In this winter solstice. Energy can be manipulated to appear as one thing, but the essence of it be entirely another, extreme or complete opposite. This is where learning comes in. This is where expanding your spiritual consciousness expands your spiritual instincts and expands your spiritual intuition comes into play. Because what can be seen or felt or thought to be one thing can be manipulated in its frequency, in its energy, in its spectrum to appear as something, but it is not. And we have to learn to discern between that, okay? We have to learn to discern the illusion from the real. Spirit from spiritual thoughts and feelings and essence and frequencies and spectrums from human frequency spectrum thoughts and feelings. They are two different dimensions, two different multiverses of existence itself, merging and commingling as one. And you, as the incarnated spirit, has to be aware of this consciously within your spiritual heart, within your spiritual mind, within your spiritual body, or your human body will take over. Your ego body, your emotional body, your physical body will take over and will rule from its own place of systematic dis-ease that is reflected through the world, through the atmosphere, through the environment in which it exists. So understand the polar opposites of things. Understand the wisdom of it. Understand that the energy is balanced between them. And that manipulations can take place where the appearance of one thing seems to be of this frequency, seems to be of that spectrum, seems to feel this vibration, but at the root of it, at the heart of it, at the center of it, the spiritual center, spiritual heart of it, it is not. It is not healthy. It is not whole. And it wants to hurt and destroy and fragment and tear down and subjugate and dominate and be the master of and over. You must begin to understand these principles and the powers of these powers and principalities that exist around you and within you. You must begin to know yourself. You must have that self-inquiry. You must be able to identify your spiritual self and your selfie selves, all of them, every aspect of them, every age of them, every prejudice that they have. And like I say, don't judge. Understand the systematic systems and the institutions and the constitutions that have ingrained these teachings, these ways into the genetic memory. They have imprinted it. And it's up to us now. The only way we can unimprint that or flip that or change that is to become spiritually conscious, aware, and expand our spirituality, okay? Our spiritual consciousness, and understand that we are spiritually conscious beings of choice. We are sovereign beings. And our design is perfect. And we have to stop doubting that and learn to acclimate to it, learn to adapt to that, learn to accept that, and learn to allow that to speak for us, to move for us, to expand our consciousness, to communicate for us, as us. Let's go to the next paragraph. The heart does not lie. It is the seat of conscious womb. It is the seat or conscious womb of the soul's spirit. Now that's a mouthful right there, beloveds, okay? The heart does not lie. The spiritual heart does not lie, okay? That is why the Great Spirit, or the supreme highest consciousness, or source, or whatever you choose to call it, judges your spiritual heart. Not what you say out of your mouth, not what you do, but your heart. Because that's where your soul is. That's where the truth of you, of your character, of your morals, of your devotion, of your belief, of your faith is. It's in your spiritual heart. That spiritual heart does not lie. It is the seat or conscious womb of the soul's spirit. Everything about that individual can be known, seen, learned, discerned, and understood and understood by the contents of their heart. This is what the Great Spirit and the Holy Spirit recognize and communicate with. So in the Christian faith, when Jesus Christ said, "The Father and I are one," this is what he's speaking of. The heart is one. It's one heart. It's one spiritual heart. It's one way for it to beat. It's one rhythm. It's one flow. And that's what communicates who you are to another individual or collective. And also to these systems and matrices. Okay? What's the saying? You got heart. That means your soul is seated in your spirit. And you are led by it, by its convictions, by its rules, by its leanings, by its knowledge. The information /lesson/test/self-inquiry quests you transmute is never more than your heart can bear. That's very powerful, beloveds, because often we suffer thinking that this is more than what we can bear, when whatever we're going through is a test to show you that you have the grit, You have the ability, the spiritual ability. You have the sovereignty to overcome if you put your faith where it belongs and in what it belongs and in who it belongs to. And knowing that the cosmic laws serve you. And you just need to allow cycles and seasons to take place. So you need to endure. And you endure in many different ways, beloveds. That don't mean put up with something that you don't have to put up with. That don't mean choose to be something you're not in order to please someone else. Or make them be at more peace, or make them happy, so to speak. Because if they need to be, the only way they can be happy is by subjugating you, then their happiness is too expensive. Okay? And you need to rectify. You need to recognize that within yourself. What are you requiring of others? What sacrifices are you requiring of others? Do you observe yourself when you interact with others? What are you needing? What are you communicating? What are you relating? What are you holding sacred space for? In the relationship, in the relating, in the relaying. Are you conscious of it? Or are you not conscious of it and you're just not even present and you're just numb and you're just this and that and the other? Do not judge yourself if that is the case. Observe it. Correct it. Understand that it is the system that has locked you in that box, in that bird cage, that has tried to clip your wings, or told you you don't have wings at all, or they own your wings. So you can only fly for them to make them happy. The lessons, the tests, the information, the self-inquiry requests you transmute is never more than your heart can bear. Each incarnated being is unique and diverse in their frequencies and spectrums, abilities to receive and relay, transmute, translate, transform, and transmit. Spiritual language is one, but there are many ways to speak it. There are many signs and symbols to know it. There are many cycles and seasons that it speaks particularly in particular ways. That is the essence of its nature in regards to your nature. As an incarnated being, understand that each is unique and diverse in their frequency spectrum's ability to receive and relay and transmute and translate, transform and transmit. Understand why the system, the matrix system, wants you to be as one copy of this. Everybody look like this. Everybody spend their money at this, on this at the same time, on the same holiday, on the same this and that. This is popular. This is trending. This is canceled. We no longer subscribe to that. Blah, 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 blah. You got to look like this to be beautiful. You got to sound like this. You got to listen to this music. You got to work this job and make this kind of particular money. Because what? That's what the system, this man-made system, has designed and put into effect and imprinted upon your soul and your spirit so deeply that you've forgotten that you existed before a physical body, that you were spirit, and that you chose to incarnate here and be here at this particular time for a purpose, for a reason. And that this knowledge, this discernment, this wisdom that is expanding your spiritual consciousness, it's been waiting for this time, for this evolution, this rotation of the sun, this precise point in existence, of existence, as existence, to begin to see changes from the man-made state of conscious awareness to the spiritual state of conscious awareness, the expanding spiritual consciousness. Let me keep going. In my observation of the beginnings of the end times and the great tribulation that is to come, beloveds, I don't know if you listen to my Blog Talk Radio show or Motherhood Wisdom, it is what it is, or look at my videos, but I have been doing this for a very long time, and it was shown to me that since the age of 4, that's when I became acquainted with the Jehovah's Witnesses, and I began to be taught the Bible, taught what I know as the truth, okay? Taught to discern through wisdom and spiritual discernment the revelations of the Spirit within something, and to maintain my faith, and above all, maintain my relationship with the divine, with the Holy Spirit, okay? And not to put anything above that. And in my lifetime, I have put other things above that. I put romantic relationships above that. I've put friendships above that. And now I'm at a point where, like I said, I'm observing everything. So many things are coming up, rising from the depths. And it's very beautiful to me. But it's also knowing that these are prayers being answered. This is the time. I'm bearing witness to the end of these matrices, these man-made systems. Okay? I can see what's coming. I know what's coming. I know why it's coming, and I know what's coming after that. And so in staying aligned with what I know and understanding what peace is, and peace is a part of your spiritual consciousness, that once you lay that foundation for it and you truly understand what peace represents, what it is, what it means, there's nothing more important in this world. There's nothing more important in this world. And you learn that things can happen simultaneously. Chaos can exist all around you, outside of you. But inside, you have peace. Because you know that everything is doing what it must. It's in its cycle and its season of birth, death, and rebirth. There's no need to fear what's going on. There's nothing new going on. As an old soul, all of this has been imprinted on you many, many times before. Many lives before. Number one, I am paying close attention to the man-made systems in place, as well as the cosmic systems in fixed, as well as cycles and seasons of conscious frequencies and spectrums. Beloveds, you have to learn to discern the man-made system versus the spiritual system, the natural system, the omniscient system, that which is eternal and everlasting, okay, versus that which is temporary or lasts a millennia or an age or an epoch or a season or a cycle or so many years or so many days or so many months or so many hours. You have to learn to observe the difference of them. You have to learn to be able to sync your flow, your frequency, your spiritual frequencies and spectrums with those vibrations, with those lights, with those waves of energy, okay? To maintain your peace, your inner peace, your sight. And you have to know that the cosmic systems are what truly rule over the man-made systems, okay? And that this is ancient wisdom that has been skewed, misaligned, misinterpreted on purpose, changed on purpose to offset things, to screw things up, to change trajectory and course. But see, like I said before, what Spirit puts in place, there are no woo, peekaboo, surprise, hello. Everything is accounted for. Everything will balance itself out by the cosmic laws that are in place. Because these cosmic laws are fixed laws. They do not change. They are unlike man, who ages and dies and changes and does this and does that. These are fixed things. They do not change. That's it, period. Bam. The law of attraction, bam. Law of gravity, bam. So it's in your best interest to understand these spiritual laws, these cosmic laws, and to contrast them with man-made laws and the man-made leaders and institutions and systems that are designed to turn you away from the truth and steer you in the lane where you can just be dominated, where your sovereignty is no longer your inheritance. Your inheritance has been stolen from you. You've been tricked. You've been bamboozled. You've been pimped out. You've been slaved out. You sold your soul for something that you thought had value because of the trickery, because of the underlying manipulations, okay, of an elite system. Again, this is about judgment. You're going to start seeing a lot of things. Let me keep going because it's written in here. Number 2, I am paying attention to the individuals representing these systems, both human and celestial, as the old guard dies and is being updated by the new guard. Beloveds, there's a scripture in the Bible that says a lot of things will not happen until certain generations pass from the earth. Okay? Excuse me. That generation is the old guard. That generation is the individuals and the collectives that upheld the man-made systems and matrices and kept them going, even though they knew that they were unholy and unhealthy. Okay? They profited from this. They are dying out. And in their dying out, they're looking for who's going to replace them. And in looking for who's going to replace them in this cycle and season, according to the book of Revelations, that Ouroboros is happening, that Ouroboros effect, the snake swallowing its own tail. They're turning against themselves. Okay? They're eating and sacrificing themselves now. Why? In order to keep the attention off of the system itself. They don't care about the individuals. The individuals who've sworn oaths and taken vows and did this in the name of, and that are devoted servants to. They don't care about them. What is important to them is the system and maintaining the system. And so if they've got to throw somebody who has passed all the tests and they accept it as one of their own, was even a gatekeeper for them, they'll throw him to the dogs, because while the dogs are so busy eating him, judging them, seeing them, that takes their eyes off of what created them, what allowed that, what held space for that, what protected that, what set that up. What propped that up. That old boy network. That pedantry, pedophilia. Preying on the children. Sacrificing for the system, for the God of their system, for the preservation of their system, their mother, their whore, their lie. See it. Observe it for yourself. I'm going to read number 1 and 2 again. Number 1, I am paying close attention to the man-made systems in place, as well as the cosmic systems in fixed, as well as cycles and seasons of conscious frequencies and spectrums. 2. I am paying attention to the individuals representing these systems, both human and celestial, as the old guard dies and is being updated by the new guard. 3. I am paying attention to those man-made individuals, leaders, stars, gods, who were once placed on pedestals by the institutions or systems only to be used as sacrificed fodder to divert the attention, blame, and guilt of the system onto the sacrificed individual or collective. I had a conversation with a friend yesterday, and this was about what's going on in the hip-hop community, okay? And understanding what we see from the hip-hop community, what is represented, what we thought was represented, but what is truly underneath the ice, underneath in the depths of it. Okay, the system that allowed hip-hop to make its money, to make its stars, to make its leaders, to make its gods, and a lot of them call themselves gods now, okay? I want you to understand the system, the ancient system, the ancient matrix, the ancient mother, the ancient whore that birthed these seeds, and that takes and receives these kinds of seeds. I want you to see it. I want you to be able to observe it. And as I began in the very beginning, in the first, I'm like, okay, Mama, what you showing me? I see all of this, and I've been knowing some of this for a while now. This is not new to me. Why is it all of a sudden it's expanding spiritual consciousness? But not only that, it's creating a more deeper awareness, or putting a spotlight or gaslighting what's going on in the urban black community, okay? What's going on with urban black men? What's going on with black men and black women? Because that goes to the narrative of the old boy network, the slave owners, okay? Those who have pimped them out in the entertainment industry, the sports industry, and everything else you can think of. And they had to follow their rules in order to be let in to the inner circle. Okay? Meaning they had to sleep with men, the older men of the fraternities and so forth and so on. And that was taped, and they had wild parties and wild orgies and this and this and that. And it goes all the way back to Rome, goes all the way back to Greece. There's nothing new under the sun. These were the ones that became the senators. These were the ones that became the governors. These were the ones that who could declare war. Okay? These were the ones who were put in seats of judgment and power. And these were the ones who had passed tests of allegiance, who had vowed oaths of upholding this system, of understanding the history of the system, of understanding and knowing what belonging to this system meant. And that if you betray this system, or you get out of favor with this system, they will punish you. on the point of death, you and yours. Nothing new, beloveds. Nothing new. That didn't just come up with the music industry. We learn about that in history. That's his story. That's how he gets down. When you learn to see the system and not just the men, not just the Caesar, not just the Napoleon, not just the king this and the king that, not just the pharaoh this and the pharaoh that, or the emperor this or the emperor that. When you see the system, when you break it all down and you see the seeds that are sown, and you understand what the seeds are imprinted with, and why the seeds come out the way they do, and they either cave to that humanistic consciousness, or they rise above it with a spiritual consciousness. It's one or the other. But you have to pay attention. But if you're so busy working to make ends meet, if you're so busy with your nose down to the ground, grinding, hustling, trying to make it, you don't see what's going on. You don't see the system in place. That's why when the Matrix came out, it shocked so many people, because then they began to, oh. And you understand when you start seeing the deja vus are patterns of repetition within the history. Okay? And so you start understanding the psychological, the astrological, the economical systems and how they fluctuate and how they flow. And what is done to maintain that. We're in one of those now, the holiday season. Oh yeah, that's one of them. Oh goodness, hold on a second.